Want to know my secret weapon to doing more deals, making more money? It's right here. This is called an option to purchase real estate agreement. Now, before your eyes glaze over and you say, oh, I've heard of that before. No. Stay with me here, because the secret to wealth is to own nothing but control everything. Nelson Rockefeller said that. I think he had a lot of money. He might have known what he was talking about. So in this little video, I'm going to show you how an option works and how you can use an option on those deals that you would normally just throw away, that everybody just ignores and they pass on because maybe the seller wants too much or whatever. I'm going to show you how to use a simple one-page document like this, and I'm going to show you how to get it for free and how you can do more deals, okay? So stay tuned. All right, hey, my name is Joe McCall. I've been doing this YouTube channel for a while now, and I love teaching people how to do real estate deals and how to keep everything simple. You know the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And this is one of the simplest ways to make money in this business, and it's called an option agreement, all right? So Rockefeller said the secret to wealth is to own nothing but control everything. So what does that mean? Well, one of the things that you can do, this single piece of paper here gives you the option to control a property. It lets you to control the property without actually owning it, all right? Now, a lot of times, sellers will want too much for their property. You might offer them 100 grand and it's worth maybe 200 grand, but they want 150 grand. So like they're way up here, you're down here, and you're like, I don't know, like again, it's worth 200, they want 150, that's the lowest they'll go. Your cash offer is 100. What if though, you could say, well, listen, I'm probably not your buyer. By the way, I say that all the time to sellers. I'm probably not your buyer. There's no way I could pay 150 for it, but I might know somebody else who would. I might be able to find somebody else who could pay 150 for it. And so then what you do is you lock up the property on an option agreement. Now, in order to wholesale a property, you've got to get it under a contract. And sometimes a regular purchase and sale agreement, you can write it up so it becomes like an option agreement. But this is even more obvious, like, you know what? I'm not going to buy this property. I just want the option to buy it because I'm going to try to find somebody else who can take my place that I can sell my option to them. So this is just a little more full disclosure, open, this is what's gonna happen. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna walk through this option agreement because when you're talking and negotiating with the seller, there are so many different ways that you can lock up a property and then turn around and sell it. And you don't even have to quote unquote lock up the property. I'll walk through the details here, okay? So first of all, let me say this. I'm not a lawyer, I don't pretend to be one either. So always get an attorney, somebody who's an expert in real estate law, somebody who's an expert in creative real estate to help you with your option agreements. And if you want this option agreement, you can get it for free in my land kit. Go to simplelandkit.com, simplelandkit.com, and you can make millions of dollars just with this one simple page contract like this, okay? So again, this is the option. The option gives you the option to buy the property. The seller still has the obligation. They have to sell it to you unless there's an out clause in here, but you don't have to buy it. You just have the option to buy it. And there's a few things you need. Number one, it needs to be an agreement of the minds. You know, there has to be some consideration and it has to be signatures, a meeting of the minds. So there, you know, I usually do $10, $100 as option consideration. There's a certain date on there of when you have to either exercise your option or it expires. And so it spells out in there what the option is actually for. Is it for a vacant lot or a piece of some kind of property? Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a house, a commercial building, etc. All right, so the number one is the contract date. And then the option agreement is made between the following properties. Maybe my video guy can kind of walk through this contract on the screen as I'm kind of going through it. Okay, so number one is this person hereafter referred to as the optionor. The optionor is the person, I like to think of it as the giver, the optionor, the giver of the option. So that would be the seller in this case, right? And number two, so-and-so person referred to as the optionee. I'm the optionee in this example, okay? The seller has a property that I want to buy. They want too much for it. I'm not going to pay that, but I might be able to find somebody else. So that seller is giving me the option to buy the property. I'm the optionee, okay? The optioner, that's the seller, agrees to grant an option to purchase to the optionee, that's me, the land and the improvements known as, and that's where you put the address of the property or the APN number, parcel ID, and with acres and stuff like that. Now the offer, the optionee has the option, that's me, has the option to purchase this property for a price of 150 grand, okay? And the period could be, I'd recommend trying to get at least 6 months. 180 days beginning on the contract date and ending on a date 6 months later. Cool? Consideration. Optioner grants this option for the consideration of, $10, $100. It's got to be something. It could be $1 if you wanted, and other valuable consideration. All right, now the terms and conditions. Now some of these I put it into where you can just delete some of them or replace one of them or whatever. But number one condition, the optioner or the seller understands that the optionee has the right to assign this option. Very simple, straightforward, this is what I'm gonna do, all right? If I find somebody else that wants to buy the property for 150 grand, I'm gonna sell this option to them for 10,000 bucks, 5,000 bucks, 3,000 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever you want. You just sell the rights to them, then they take your place, they exercise the option, and then buy it, all right? And by the way, when they exercise the option, that's when you just get a title company to help you with this. That's when you might want to execute a purchase and sale agreement at that point. The optioner, that's the seller, understands that the optionee, me, is acting as a principal in the transaction and is not working as a real estate broker. I'm not representing anybody else other than me in this transaction. Okay, and upon the optionee exercising this option agreement, both parties agree to move forward with the necessary standard purchase and sale agreement. So there'll be another contract at that point. Now the optioner, this is something that is optional that you can put in your contract. The optioner, okay, this is when I use this clause. Sometimes the seller says, well, I don't want to tie up the property. What if I find another buyer in 6 months? And so sometimes I'll give them an option to get out of it, okay? So it's either an exclusive or a non-exclusive option agreement. And so you could say something like, the optioner may cancel this agreement at any time prior to exercising it should he find his own buyer or decide not to sell. This cancellation must be done in writing. Now that's pretty loosey-goosey, right? This is where you can add something like this. By the way, I have two different option agreements. This one is kind of more complicated lawyer language here. You might want to use this one as well. But this is something you could say here. If the optioner finds another buyer before the expiration of this option agreement, the optioner must give me, the optionee, the right of first refusal to purchase the property at a better price for a period of 72 hours. The optioner shall contact me by phone or by email, and it lists that out. So what that basically says is, all right, Mr. Seller, you don't want to lock this property up for 6 months. That's fine, I get it. You can go ahead and keep on advertising it. If you find somebody else, you have to give me 72 hours, maybe 5 days, a week, to either match or beat their price. And you do that by giving them an official, real contract. Does that make sense? That's fair to everybody involved, right? So that's a policy. That's something you can put in there as well. All right. Then the optioner gives me, the optionee, access to the property for showing to prospective end buyers, tenants, partners, contractors, appraisers, et cetera, along with the right to put signs out in the yard advertising the property for sale. Cool? All parties agree that the property is being sold in its present as-is condition. The optioner, that's the owner, must ensure that the property insurance is maintained on the property. If it's a house, you don't need that for land. Time is of the essence. And if you have any other agreements you want to put here, and you all sign it right here, it doesn't need to be notarized, that's it. And by the way, in simplelandkit.com, I also include what's called a memorandum of option. If you've got a really good smoke, and I don't do this on all my deals, but if it's a really good deal, you might want to file something in the county records that clouds the title, that puts everybody on notice that you have this property under an option agreement, okay? It's called a memorandum of option. Or there's another thing called the affidavit of interest. But if you go to Simple Land Kit, I have one of those in there as well. So if it's a good deal and you really, really want to make sure it's locked up, you want to file that with the county to make sure there's some kind of cloud on the title, okay? I had a client one time who did one of those memorandum of options, and just a week after this was signed, the seller said, no, I don't want to do it anymore. And the guy was like ready not just to sell this option, but he was going to exercise his option and buy the property at the agreed upon price because he realized it was actually a really good deal. The seller said no because they got a better offer somewhere else. And so he got his attorney, my client, the investor, called an attorney and said, well, you're okay because you have a signed agreement with the seller. You filed a memorandum in the county. So the only thing you could sue right now, just for, I forget the phrase, not performing on the contract, or you could just wait. So the investor said, I'll just wait. Well, fast forward like a year. That investor gets a call from a title company. It says, hey, we're trying to sell this property and we need you to remove this memorandum of option on that property so we can close on it. And the investor said, well, he called his attorney and he said, well, you know what? I'd love to remove that, but where do I send the invoice to remove it? And he said, what do you mean? Well, I had it under contract, this option agreement. I was going to buy that property and exercise my option, but the seller refused. And so what do you want to do? We could go to court and I could sue, or you could just pay me $10,000 to remove this memorandum of option. The title company said, oh, we can't do that. And then the seller was upset. That end buyer that seller found was upset, and everybody is upset. And the lawyer sent a letter saying, yeah, this is it. This is the agreement that the seller signed a year ago. We clouded the title, which, by the way, that memorandum was still there in the county records, right? So anyway, they ended up paying this investor $10,000 to remove the option because it was clouded. It clouded the title. So all of this stuff, make sure you're working with an attorney that can help you with it. You know, your state, your county may have different requirements or different contracts that you've got to use, but this is a written agreement that the seller has to honor. Now, again, you don't have to honor it if you, you do, but I'm saying like, you don't have to exercise your option if you don't want. This option expires in 6 months, maybe 30 days, maybe 4 months, whatever it is, 2 years, you have the option to buy the property. Make sense? This is a really, really powerful tool. And all of those deals that you're getting, that leads that maybe you're just throwing away because the seller wants too much, well, maybe this could be plan B. This could be another option that you could give to the seller. Back when I was doing a lot of lease options on houses, we would do something called cooperative assignments. We'd do a cooperative lease option. And so we would give the seller an option, and they would be like, it was kind of like a joint venture or a partnership agreement. And our agreement with them would say, hey, listen, we're going to turn around and sell this property for a profit, and we'll pay you 25% of the profits. So that's something you could put on here as well. We're gonna buy it, we're gonna have the option to buy it from you for this price, and any profit that I make above that, I'll give you 25% of the profits, 50% of the profits, or whatever. And that way, when you're negotiating with the seller, that's gonna give them more incentive to maybe even lower their price so you can sell it faster. Does that make sense? Option agreements, super powerful. And if you want my 2 option agreements that I use, go to simplelandkit.com, completely free, simplelandkit.com. Appreciate you guys. Go get this right now, and we'll see you on the next video. Hey, subscribe to my channel, like my videos, give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below. If you have any questions on this, let me know. I look at my comments all the time. I'd love to help you in any way that I can, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.